I work at a beachside cafe in Bondi. An American couple arrived at 8 a.m., grabbed the best table, and stayed until 2 p.m. They ordered 1 flat white each. 6 hours. 2 coffees. When I hinted we needed the table, the woman said, "We're paying customers." I explained we weren't a co-working space. She pointed at her laptop. "I tipped you $5. That was yesterday. Our tip jar is for charity." She'd been sitting there for 6 hours on a $2 tip to the local animal shelter. Another American asked why our grocery store hid the peanut butter in aisle 7. In America, it's always aisle 3.
Ow.
I told him every store was different. He insisted there was an international standard. He'd been to Targets in Florida and Arizona, so he knew. When I said this was Woolworths in Australia, he asked when we'd standardize. "You're part of the Commonwealth. Follow the rules." These stories keep coming. Americans treat Australia like America with different accents. They miss every unspoken rule. I track this cultural gap full-time so you don't have to. If you want the version of Australia, most visitors never even notice. Subscribing is how you stay in the room where the real stories live. I manage a pub in Melbourne. An American walked in during Friday Arvo drinks and yelled, "Excuse me, where do I order?" The entire room went silent. Regulars stared. He was 3 meters from the bar. He marched over, slapped the counter, and said, "I'll take a Bud Light." Told him we didn't have Bud Light. He asked what we had. I pointed to the taps. 20 Australian beers. He studied them like they were written in Mandarin. Which one tastes like Bud Light? I suggested a light lager. He interrupted. "No, which one is Bud Light?" "You must have the international version." I explained Budweiser wasn't popular here. He looked personally offended. "How do you not have America's beer?" He said America invented modern brewing. I didn't argue. He ordered a Carlton draft, took 1 sip, and announced, "This tastes like beer." I confirmed that was the idea. If this kind of quiet cultural comedy is exactly the nuance you notice, and most people miss you'll want this channel in your corner. Subscribers get these breakdowns before they disappear into the algorithm. He seemed confused by the concept. He sat in the pokies room and asked why everyone was so quiet. In American bars, people socialize. I explained they were gambling. He said it was depressing. Then he complained our pub wasn't fun enough. He left a review calling us antisocial. We're the friendliest pub in Fitzroy. I'm a pharmacist in Sydney. An American woman needed cold medicine. I showed her the options. She examined every box and said, "These don't have the real ingredients." I asked what she meant. She explained American cold medicine had actual medicine, not herbal substitutes.
Ow.
I showed her the pseudoephedrine and phenylephrine content. She shook her head. That's not the American formula. She insisted our medicines were watered down for legal reasons. I explained Australia had stricter pharmaceutical standards, not weaker ones. She disagreed. If they worked, they'd be in America. She asked for prescription strength over the counter. I explained that wasn't how prescriptions worked. She said her friend in Texas bought prescription antibiotics at Walgreens without a doctor. I told her that was illegal in Texas too. She insisted it happened all the time. She left empty-handed. She later called to ask if Australian pharmacies were certified. When I said I had a 5-year degree, she asked if it was internationally recognized. I told her Australia invented modern pharmacy regulations. She said, "Then why can't I get real Sudafed?" I'm a lifeguard at Manly Beach, an American family set up directly in front of the flags. Despite 50 meters of empty sand on either side, standard procedure. We watch between the flags. Dad decided to swim outside the flags. I called him back. He waved me off. I'm from California. I know oceans. I explained rip currents worked differently here. He yelled, "Water is water." His wife joined in. He swam at Malibu. I radioed for backup. He was drifting fast. Another guard and I pulled him in. He was furious. I didn't need help. He demanded to speak to our supervisor. I was the supervisor. He wanted my boss. I radioed the head lifeguard. Same story. He insisted we overreacted. His son, maybe 7 years old, asked if Dad almost died. Dad said no, they're just dramatic here. He filed a complaint. Said we embarrassed him. He wanted us written up for unnecessary rescue. The head lifeguard framed the complaint in our break room. It's now our most popular attraction. I'm a barista in Brisbane. An American ordered a large coffee with cream. I asked what kind. Just coffee. I explained we had espresso-based drinks. No, drip coffee. We didn't do drip. She looked betrayed. How do you not have regular coffee? I offered a long black or Americano. She insisted those were different things entirely. I explained an Americano was espresso with water, basically strong coffee. She said that's not coffee. That's espresso. She asked for the manager. I was the manager. She wanted the owner. I co-owned the cafe. She paused, recalculated, and said, in America, coffee means coffee. I asked what she thought espresso was. A specialty drink. She ordered the Americano, added milk, and declared it wrong. The milk was cold. I explained we didn't steam milk for Americanos unless asked. She said I should have known. Customer Service 101. She left a review. Barista doesn't understand coffee basics. Refused to make regular coffee. Rude when corrected. Australia needs Starbucks. Rated the best cafe in Brisbane. We've won national awards. Her review got 17 laughing reactions. I work at Bunnings in Perth. An American asked where our carts were. I pointed to the trolleys. He said, those are shopping carts. I agreed. He clarified, no, I need a flatbed cart for lumber. He studied them. These are too small. They fit 3-meter boards. He explained he needed to move real lumber. I asked how much. A couple 2x4s. He wandered off and returned with 2 small pieces of timber. They fit easily in a standard trolley. He demanded the flatbed anyway. I explained we only had trolleys. He asked how contractors moved materials. I gestured to the dozen tradies casually using trolleys. This is why Australia's construction industry is behind. He didn't work in construction. He was building a shelf. One shelf. He needed 70 centimeters of pine. He loaded his 2 pieces onto a trolley and pushed it like he was moving a boulder. At checkout, he asked why we didn't have lumber specialists. I explained the staff all knew timber. He said, in Home Depot, there's a whole department. I told him to ask any question. He couldn't think of one. I host trivia at a pub in Adelaide. An American team joined. First question, what year did Australia federate? They answered 1776. The entire room laughed. They didn't understand why. Second question was about Australian prime ministers. They wrote Australia doesn't have presidents. With a question mark, they thought it was a trick question. When I read the answer, they argued Australia was still technically British. They got increasingly frustrated. During the music round, they complained the songs were too Australian. I explained it was Australian trivia. But you speak English. Play real music. The other teams were howling. Final round was geography. Question, what's Australia's longest river? They wrote the Mississippi. They insisted they misheard. When I repeated it, they changed it to the Amazon. When I said it was the Murray, they claimed I was making up words. They finished last by 60 points. They demanded a recount. I showed them the math. They said the questions were unfair to internationals. Another team pointed out 2 French exchange students had placed third. The Americans left during the prize ceremony. They'd stayed long enough to confirm they got nothing. I worked tourism at Uluru. An American family arrived and asked where the bathrooms were. I pointed to the visitor center. The dad studied the sign. That's half a kilometer. He turned to me. You need closer facilities. Explained this was a sacred site in the middle of the desert. He suggested we install porta potties for accessibility. Told him it would be culturally inappropriate. He said, we have national parks in America. His wife asked if we validated parking. We don't charge for parking. She insisted there must be validation somewhere. For the principal, I showed her the free lot. She asked where the premium parking was. There wasn't any. What if we want to park closer? I explained everyone walked from the same area. She couldn't process this. even tour groups. Yes, even VIPs. We don't have VIPs at ULURU. Their son asked if the rock was the real one. I asked what he meant. Is this the actual Uluru or a replica? I confirmed it was real. He seemed disappointed. It looks smaller in person. It's 348 meters tall and 9.4 kilometers around. He said Disneyland's Matterhorn looked bigger. Dad asked if we had a gift shop at the summit. There's no summit access. Climbing was banned in 2019. He argued he'd paid to come here. I explained entry was free. He meant his flight. I flew 20 hours. I should get something extra. I offered him a brochure. He asked if it came in English. It was in English. He meant American English. He wanted different spelling. They left after 40 minutes. Didn't walk the base. Didn't visit the cultural center. Just took photos and complained about bathroom distance. Sometimes I wonder if Americans realize how much they miss. Not just the rules, the whole point. If you found clarity in this breakdown, imagine having this perspective on tap every week. That's what subscribing gets. Yuan, edge that most travelers and culture watchers never develop. Australia isn't America with different words. It's a completely different place with its own logic. But every week, someone arrives expecting Walmart and Budweiser and gets confused when we offer something else next time. I'll share stories about Americans and Australian wildlife. Spoiler, they always try to pet things that can kill them.